Welcome back to ParentingU. I'm Stephanie, and we're here to help you navigate this amazing journey we call parenting. Today, we're talking all about feeding our kids well, healthy eating, all of the good stuff about nutrition. And we welcome Carmen Alexis Miller, who is a registered dietitian with Our Lady of Lourdes, Women's and Children's in Lafayette. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Why don't you start telling us a little bit about yourself, what kind of work you do, and what does a dietitian really do?
Okay. Well, me personally, I work at Our Lady of Lourdes Women's and Children's Hospital. I'm an outpatient dietitian, so that specifically means I see patients who are not in the hospital. I provide education and counseling based on specific needs that the doctor has deemed that person or that child needs. I see patients of all ages and disease states. I substitute sometimes in the NICU, and I see all the way through geriatrics and helping older people age gracefully. So that is the work that I do. But you'll find dietitians all over. There are dietitians in the hospital. There are dietitians in the school system, in nursing homes, in gyms and fitness centers. And then even now I've noticed larger companies who have wellness programs. You'll see dietitians be part of bigger companies too, kind of helping maintain health and wellness for employees too.
That's really interesting. So you're there to really help guide us on what's nourishing for us, what's important that goes in our body, what gives us energy, all of that. Now, I have heard of nutritionists. What's the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist?
Okay, so one can be a dietitian can be a nutritionist, but not all nutritionists are dietitians.
Okay.
What that means is, as a registered dietitian, I have a national certification. Different states have different laws on who is a nutritionist and who is a dietitian. For example, in California, you don't have to be a registered dietitian to provide nutrition education and counseling. You can just be a nutritionist. However, in most other states, including Louisiana, you have to have a license to practice as a registered dietitian to give education, counseling in terms of nutrition. As a registered dietitian, though, that means I've gone through an extensive schooling process. I've had an undergraduate degree. I've gone through an internship with at least 1,200 hours of supervised practice. I take continuing education classes to keep up my license. I pay for my license every year. As a nutritionist, that can mean almost anything. You can take a couple online classes. You can take a one-off kind of course online. You know, you can follow someone for a while and you become a nutritionist too. So that term is a little bit loose. The term registered dietitian has some weight and some credentialing behind it.
So you know what you're talking about, is what I'm hearing. Well, and that's important because today we're going to talk about a topic that is probably tinged with a lot of emotional pieces of it. We don't often think about food as emotional, but I think teaching our kids about eating healthy, what is the right way to eat, is there a right way to eat, all those things can be really kind of deep. And so I'm really excited to go there with you and just kind of get your perspective on how we really teach our kids well in this area.
Thank you. Food, I think sometimes we don't realize how intimate food is. I think I've learned that. I learned that through schooling, but I didn't really fully understand the weight of it until I became a practitioner. Food is intimate. Even just on a normal basis, we eat at least 3 or so times a day. But food is how we take care of ourselves. So it does become intimate. And then sometimes we have difficulties caring for ourselves. And then that becomes intimate to have to bring that up and tell someone else and ask for help. So yes, sometimes we forget how intimate and how close-knit our nutrition is to our emotional state as well.
Yeah. Well, so how do we teach our kids about this healthy eating? How do we talk to them about calories, weight, whatever it relates to? How do we talk to them so that we're setting them up for healthy thoughts and healthy emotions about food?
You've got that. I feel like part of your question is part of the answer. I will say, as parents, we are the gatekeepers of the nutrition in our home. how we act around food, the foods that we buy, the foods that we cook, the foods that we refuse to touch and eat. All of that sets the stage, sets an example for how our kids will nourish their bodies. The beginning steps, before we even talk to our children about food, we can involve them in our daily food lives. We can take them grocery shopping. They can choose which foods that they like. They can be involved in the kitchen if with certain tools and utensils as age appropriate, of course. But they can be involved in a garden. They can help set the table. They can be part of mealtime. All of that helps really set the stage, set the beginning relationship with food. Food isn't always just about numbers and nutrition and macros and getting it all perfect.
Yeah.
Food is personal. Food is intimate, like we just discussed. So bringing them first and foremost into the kitchen, into the grocery store, that's how you start that relationship.
Yeah.
Once our children are old enough to talk about food, personally, I save calories for a later date.
Yeah.
Even when I talk to my pediatric patients, I don't always bring up calories in the beginning.
Okay.
I like to focus on where our food is coming from, the quality of our food, how it makes our bodies feel. I focus more on that than the numbers.
Yeah.
As small children, the numbers won't mean much to them. What's 200 calories? What's 1,200? Those are just big numbers to them.
Yeah, it's all the same.
So especially with the younger ones in the beginning, I like to relate calories or just food in general as energy, as fuel for your airplane, fuel for your car. Just like, I tell my 3-year-old that just like mommy's car needs gas to put in the tank so we can drive to grandma's, your body needs gas in the form of food so that you can have lots of energy to keep playing.
Yeah. I love that you're relating energy to what they love to do. So the food helps them run more or go to cheerleading or swim or whatever it is. It creates this connection for them that, things that make me feel good and energetic will help me do the things that I love more.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think about my 3-year-old and her love for food in general. Yeah. She likes all food. She loves healthy foods. She loves vegetables, but she loves sugar and all of the wonderful tasting food too. I keep food, when I talk about food with her, I keep it neutral.
Okay.
There's not good and bad foods. There's not medicine and poison. There are foods that are a little bit healthier for us. There are foods that make our tummies feel a lot better.
Okay.
There are foods that maybe sometimes if we eat too much of them, they really make your tummy hurt. Or there are foods that are best left for maybe after lunch, that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's not so much about that has too much sugar, that has too much calories, that has caffeine in it, that kind of thing. I kind of bring it down to her level and help her understand that. And then as age appropriate, you can start bringing in media literacy, talking to kids about how others will eventually talk to them about food. Yeah. Just so that they understand. With our older kids, we can ask them about advertisements. What do you think? What do you think they're trying to sell? Like, most advertisements are trying to sell us something. So what do you think? Like they're using your favorite celebrity. They're offering free toys. Do you think they're selling health? Or do you think they're selling hotness? So the older kids can help decipher between their media literacy.
Yeah. I'll never forget. I have 2 daughters, and one time in kindergarten, my oldest came home and she had a Rice Krispie treat, and she asked me, "How many calories are in this?" And I was like, "Where did you hear that word?" And she said, "Oh, well, the mommies at school talk about it." And from that day on, I was like, "Nope." Like, we have got to talk to them about not restricting themselves. And she had no idea what she was asking, but it was just such a marker of this is going to happen at all ages, and we have to be prepared as parents to understand that and know how to talk to them so we're not perpetuating cycles that create just unhealthy behaviors.
I agree. The this is the hard part, is sometimes you have to pull up and unravel your own relationship with food. Whether or not you've got some skeletons in that closet, whether or not you notice that the words that you use when you talk about others, do you talk about their bodies? When you talk about food, are you directly relating that to your weight? You know, some of us, we've just got in the habit of talking and commenting in certain ways. We don't realize how those little ears are always turned on, whether or not they're in the same room as you. They're always turned on. They're always listening, and they will mimic you.
More is caught than taught. That's what I've always heard.
That's a great catchphrase. I haven't heard that one, but now it will stick. It will stick.
More is caught than is taught. Well, tell me about, how does all this play into a healthy body image? So we want to nourish our little ones' bodies. We want them to be healthy. But how do we strike the balance? You've talking about food as energy, but what are some other ways that we can ensure we're striking the balance between enjoying food, but also having a healthy body image?
Yes. So something I'll mention first that I think sometimes I catch parents by surprise with is giving your child food autonomy. You as the parent, it is your job to provide the what, the when, the where of the meal, but it's the child's job to decide if and when I'm going to eat any of this. And that's the part that tends to get parents. They're like, excuse me? No, this child is going,
Clean your plate.
Yes. But I feel like in other areas of parenting, do we really win as parents when we force things? Look, sometimes we have to, like, it's time to go. We've got to get in the car. Like, you know, certain things just have to happen. But when you're creating this relationship with food, we need to give them some autonomy, some decision making. Again, I think about my 3-year-old, and right now, her world revolves around her. There's power struggles. There's this need for independence. And with her food, okay, mom is going to cook. This is the meal. You decide if and how much you're going to eat. So starting off there. But moving forward, you can create a positive attitude towards health. You can present food as fuel and nourishment for your body, and we can talk about bodies as something to be proud of and happy with. I have noticed recently there are parents who teach their kids, we don't talk about the size of other people's bodies. Again, my 3-year-old noticed the other day a person in a larger body, but that person was also very tall. So when she commented to me and said, that's a big man, I didn't know what part of big that she meant.
Oh, interesting.
Because he was tall. So I steered the conversation in that direction. Yes, that man is really tall. I bet he can reach all those great things on the top of the shelf. But when we talk about others, let's remember people have feelings about their bodies. So we don't always want to talk about people's sizes. That conversation may take, we might have to revisit that conversation in the future, and that's okay. But then you can emphasize the enjoyable aspects about food. I mean, I'm from the Lafayette, Acadiana area. Food is passion for us. Food is not just something that you have to do to keep going. Every time we get together, there's food. We revolve our holidays around food. I will never try to lessen the value and the social importance of our Cajun culture in that aspect. And that's part of it. When we go to grandma's house, we get to eat more fun food, there, things like that. And then you can always come back to how food makes you feel. Gives you energy, helps you feel satisfied, cures that hunger bug, things like that. There is a registered dietitian on social media. I would like to point her out. Her name is Alex Turnbull, and she calls herself the family nutritionist.
Okay.
She has this little thing on social media where she likes to recommend desserts with meals.
Okay.
How it takes.
I like this. I like where this is going.
It takes the emphasis off of the dessert as something that's, we can only have that if we eat all of our meal.
If you earn it.
If you earn it precisely. But if you offer it with the meal, then the dessert is no longer as intriguing. It's just part of the normal food that we get to eat. all the time.
Yeah.
Children have a wonderful way of self-regulating their diet without being forced too much. Yeah. Sometimes with best intentions, controlling parents can put their children at risk for eating, for disordered eating or eating disorders.
Yeah. I hear that, but here's what I'm concerned about, and I'm sure a lot of parents who are listening would as well, is my kid would eat the dessert and that's it. Every time I give it to them.
You think so?
Well, maybe I need to trust them more, but that's what I think people are concerned about. Like if I give them dessert at the same time as dinner, they'll never eat the healthy stuff, but maybe we got to give them a little bit of grace.
I say try it.
Try it. Okay.
Try it.
I'm going to report back.
You were wrong, Carmen. Last night, I cooked chicken breasts, mashed potatoes, and carrots. Mm-hmm. My daughter was stuck on a cosmic brownie. Mm-hmm. She wanted it. She wanted it before dinner. Yeah. But she knows how I am. So she said, Mommy, I have this brownie, and I'm going to put it on the counter right now, and I want it after my dinner or with my dinner. I forgot which one she said. So she was trying to work that to where she gets the brownie.
Sure.
And I said, okay. So the brownie pack came in two. So I took off one piece and I put it on her plate with dinner with all the other foods. She started off eating that brownie first, and my heart kind of sank. But I knew where this was going. She ate a few bites off of that brownie, and then she picked at her carrots, then she picked at her chicken, she picked at her macaroni. She ventured all over her plate. The end of the meal, she was done, she was full, and there was still a small piece of brownie left.
She left some brownie. Okay. I trust you.
it may be kind of wonky in the beginning, but they'll learn to self-regulate and what foods feel better.
Isn't that interesting about parenting is like it's just little bits of letting go through the whole time.
Coming from a perfectionist, I'm learning that the slow and steady way. But yes, that is the recurring message that keeps coming back to me. I see that in other parenting messages. I see that in my own head. Like you let go and let God, if you so will. Children will surprise you with how much they can do if you trust them and give them that space.
Yeah. Well, so what about, we can control a good amount what happens in our home, but they're at school and they're with friends and they're going to get told things and they're going to see things. You know, I'm thinking of my girls and just peer pressure that's going to come to them. But what about kids who are experiencing pressure to eat a certain way, to look a certain way as young as, kindergarten? You heard her say, what is a calorie? So how can we talk to them about who are experiencing that and bring it back to, this is fuel for you, this is energy for you, this is how it makes you feel?
So if we start that conversation when they're young, hopefully those good values stick with them. But then comes peers, social media, all of that. And I think you get to a certain age where suddenly you do look inward and you're like, oh, this is what my hands look like. I have big feet. Like, my hair's frizzy. You know, you think, suddenly you feel like there's a light on you and people are looking at you. And then you become a little bit more aware of your body. Hopefully, as they've grown, we've instilled some positive aspects of nutrition in them. But that body dissatisfaction tends to come into play. That is the biggest contributor to disordered eating and full-on eating disorders. So it's kind of first about that body dissatisfaction. I like to say, as a parent, we need to learn to listen to them and without judgment, without interjecting. So listening when they explain themselves to you. Maybe they're explaining about their body dissatisfaction, or maybe it comes in the form of a very quick, sharp comment. But holding that space for them and allowing them to feel their feelings without any judgment or ridicule or trying to turn it around or trying to fix it yourself as the parent. Let them have that conversation and help them work through those feelings. Maybe you repeat back to them what they're jumbledly trying to tell you. Maybe you lay it out and you repeat back their feelings to them.
What about our kids when they're away from us? So we can control so much at home and we follow all these great pieces of advice, but they're going to go to school and they're going to go to camp and they're going to go to church where they're getting peer pressure about a certain way to eat or a certain way to look. How do we talk to them about that? How do we make sure that what we're teaching them at home sticks?
I've written a script of what that might look like from the parenting perspective, how that conversation can go. I'm going to read it out loud, and then maybe we can break it down after.
Awesome.
So I'm pretending that I would be talking to a teen or young teen girl. You're saying that you like the way that Jenny looks because she's thin and when you wish you would look more like her. I hear you. Jenny is a beautiful girl. It's perfectly normal for you to admire the way that she looks and want to look a little bit more like her. But remember that you are not Jenny. You are your own person and your needs may be different than hers. You are beautiful in your own way, whether or not you're the same size as her. Focus your attention and your energy on nourishing your body in a way that feels best to you. Mm-hmm. My job as your mom is to make sure that you are healthy and safe. Mm-hmm. I'm here if you need anything. If you'd like to go buy new clothes, if you would like to try new foods or join a new sport, or whether you just need a listening ear, I'm here for you. Mm. So that's kind of beautiful. In a perfect world,
sure,
where our emotions are calm and neutral, that's might be what that conversation looks like.
Yeah.
But what I've done with planning that out is that I hopefully have relayed that you repeat those emotions back to them. In my head, this child wanted to look like her friend Jenny because she was thinner. So I helped rephrase that and repeat that to her. Sometimes just having your emotions repeated back to you helps you feel better. Mm-hmm. Then I said, I hear you. I didn't say you were wrong. I didn't say, girl, you crazy. I didn't say, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous. Why are you even thinking that? I just said, I hear you. Then I kind of validated her emotions. It's perfectly normal to admire the way someone else looks. Then I kind of brought her back to herself. Remember, you're not other people. You are you. Your body has different needs. I could have even gone into some positive aspects. Listen, daughter, you are amazing the way that you are. You do a lot of things that others cannot do. Yeah. Your worth does not come from the size of your body, and it's not healthy to focus a lot of energy on wanting to change your body. And then I kind of wrapped it up by saying, I'm here for you. Mm-hmm. If you need something to help you just feel a little bit better, trying new foods, joining a new sport, whatnot, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And then ending the conversation in that way, I guess I should say doesn't end the conversation.
Yeah.
It's good to keep that open. Conversations like that usually are not done after one little comment or one little moment. If you acknowledge their feelings, if you hold that space for them, then guess what? They're going to come back to you.
Yeah.
A lot of times this body dissatisfaction and this disordered eating patterns happen when they internalize so much. And that comes up. That disordered eating shows that they're having trouble dealing with those emotions. Yeah. It shows itself in a different way. But if they can come to you as a trusting, safe space, that's half the battle.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think I want to include that in the show notes, like, so people can use that, because I think coming from a place of, you're right, those conversations may be emotional at the moment, but if you've kind of prepped and kind of thought through how am I going to respond to this in a certain way, you can guide them through a little bit easier. And I think that could come from a dad, that can come from a grandma, that can come from
a sister,
anybody that's important in their lives, that speaks truth into them, and stabilizes them in a way that I think what you said about validating is it. Like, you're just showing them that what you feel isn't wrong. Let's just guide in a different way. And I think that that's great. Well, tell me about boys. So, like, we talked a lot about girls, and I think because we both have girls, so we're kind of focusing on that. But boys get a lot of the same pressure too, in maybe different ways. Are there any other tips or ideas on how to talk to them if they're feeling a certain way or they're getting picked on about something at school?
Yeah, sometimes with boys, I feel like it's coming from a whole other corner.
Yeah.
Because old school societal rules, girls are supposed to be thin and tiny and, certain ways. But then boys are supposed to be masculine and not a lot of emotion and brawny and, big, that kind of thing. So I think boys get pressure in the same way, but from a different angle.
Yeah.
The conversation would be similar, would be pretty much the same. Maybe it would be like, yo, bruh, I heard you say that you felt skinny and small compared to the football players that are your friends or whatnot. Anything you want to tell me about? Anything that you want to talk about? And you will know. I feel like I don't have a son, but I felt like if I had a son, I would know. I would know my son. I would know how to talk to him. I would know when he's being more casual, and I would know when he would go there with me, when he would allow like those emotions to come in. I'm thinking of my younger brother. So he's very much relaxed, chill, everything's always good. But when he decides to open up, his tone changes. And that's when you can feel a little bit more serious. But I think I would take the same exact approach. Yeah. Validate his feelings, bring him back to himself, remind him of his own amazingness, and then let him know that I'm here for whatever he may need.
I think that's so important. No matter where they're at, what age they're at, boys, girls, I think we all face this. And I think we deal with it as adults. You're right. You're right. And I guess my last question is really about if there is ever a point where, as a parent, we are genuinely worried about our child's diet, maybe they're losing weight, gaining weight, whatever it might be, what should we do? Who should we talk to if we have major concerns?
So I would first and foremost go to your even if it's a well visit, go visit your pediatrician. A lot of times you can get clarity on what's normal. Maybe a little bit of weight gain in the teen years is normal because that's one of the last growth spurts that they have. If you've noticed some weight loss or suddenly our children are not having meat, okay, let's talk to the pediatrician. The pediatrician can check vital signs, check blood work, check for anything major standing out. Maybe it's not, maybe it's something endocrine related or metabolic related. Maybe you need a little bit more testing. Yeah. Always good to talk to your pediatrician first. I sometimes enjoy going to my pediatrician just so he can tell me, yeah, that's perfectly normal. Go about your business. But they also have other resources. They can refer to a registered dietitian if your child may need. They can order further testing. Yeah. But that's where I would start. I would always start with my pediatrician. I feel like, especially here at Lourdes and at the lake, I feel like we have a great, trustworthy group of people. Comfortable people that I feel like I could bring up anything to them.
Well, and I think that you could also talk to them without the child in the room. If it makes it uncomfortable, you could have an appointment with them, or you're just talking to them one-on-one. Or if you want the child in the room, I think they're there for you and they're in your corner.
Yes. I will say in my practice, depending on what age the child is, if the child is a little bit older, I'll ask them if they feel comfortable if parent is in the room or not. So there's that too. You can always kind of work around the topics that are hard to talk about.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want anyone to know about this topic? I mean, I think this has been a beautiful conversation, and I just hope that everyone who's with us today hears it and understands it and just really takes it to heart. But what else? Anything else?
The one word, as we've been talking this whole time, I've had a word just keep popping up into my head. Balance. A lot of things as a parent are about balance. Yeah. The gray area, the middle ground, the happy medium, whatever you'd like to call that, that's usually where you find what works. Going to extremes, you can find difficulties on most topics going to one extreme or the other. I find the best advice for most parenting, but especially when it comes to nutrition, is balance. Is balance. You don't have to eat perfectly healthy fruits and vegetables all day, all the time. But you don't have to only eat goldfish and Oreos and macaroni and cheese all the time. We can find a balance. Our bodies are resilient. It's okay. Food is intimate. It's okay to have a balance, a give and take. Yeah. So that's what I feel like today's takeaway message is. It's all about balance.
And there's freedom in that balance.
I agree.
Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Thank you for everyone being here. We'll put everything that we talked about in the show notes, and we're just so grateful for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Today's discussion was very important.
Thank you for joining us. We'll have another episode of ParentingU soon where we help you navigate this amazing journey we call parenting. See you soon.